I've got a couple of slides here just giving a brief background on MCNC as an organization. Hopefully you're familiar with most of this, so I won't spend a whole lot of time on this. But MCNC was founded in 1980 as a nonprofit research institution. We are based in RTP in North Carolina, and we serve lots of different folks, folks that we call community anchor institutions. Most notably, we are serving all 58 of the community colleges in the community college system, all 17 campuses in the UNC system. We have several independent colleges and universities that are customers of ours, all of the K-12 LEAs and many, many charter schools and other public K-12 schools in the state, hospitals, community health agencies, public safety, state government, many local governments. Those are the folks that we serve. This here on the screen now is a rough representation of the fiber footprint that spans the state of North Carolina. This map continues to grow. We are continuing to build new fiber, but you've got a picture there that shows you roughly where fiber is. So if you're interested in knowing more about any of these particular locations, we'd be happy to talk with you about that. Our core customers, as we mentioned earlier, the community college system, we certainly appreciate working with all the folks as part of the community college system, and we're glad you're joining us here today to talk more about it. The UNC system, the independent colleges and universities, the K-12s, and the healthcare space made up by the North Carolina Telehealth Network. Those are the core folks that we serve, and we're really excited to be working with you guys and going alongside you on this journey. Some of our network services, hopefully you're familiar with most of these. We do provide all the things that you see on this slide here. I'm not going to go through all of those, but if you're interested in knowing more about any of those, we'd be happy to talk with you about that. Video services, I think, again, with community colleges, most of you all are familiar with this, but we do have a lot of different things that we do from a video standpoint, so you can see those on the slide here. We do operate 2 different data center facilities, one in Research Triangle Park, and then the other in the western part of the state at a facility called Perry, the Pisgah Astronomical Research Institute. So if you're interested in data center space, whether it's colo or managed hosting of some sort, we do have facilities for that. And here with since this is a security presentation, I will just highlight that our RTP data center is SOC 2 Type 2 compliant, which we know is important for you all when you're hosting applications because of requirements from the state Information Security Office. So just wanted to point that out. Some future services we're working on, lit services providing direct connections to cloud providers, most notably AWS and Microsoft Azure. So if you're interested in cloud computing activities with those folks and having direct connections, we'd love to talk with you about your plans around that and how we can facilitate those direct connections via the MCNC connectivity that you already have. Web content filtering, we do have a partnership with Zscaler. We note that here, that partnership has been in place for nearly 10 years, but previously we only made that service available to K-12 members of our community, and now we are able to offer the Zscaler web content filtering service to any MCNC customers. So if you're interested in that service, again, we'd love to talk to you because we can provide that to all of our customers now. And cloud-based video services, most notably Zoom, the platform that we're using for this presentation today. That is something that we are able to provide to folks. So if you're interested in talking or learning more about access to Zoom for these kind of web video presentations, that's something we can talk with you about as well. So I'm going to jump in here now to the security portion of the presentation, give you an update on some security services that MCNC has introduced recently and some of the things that we're working on for the future. So why will we talk about cybersecurity? And the reason is that cybersecurity issues can lead to serious real-world problems, as you can see in this picture from the real world, that chicken wings and cheesy crust are out of stock at this restaurant because of a cyber attack So we do know that there are serious problems that can occur from cyber attacks. So all joking aside, cybersecurity is a very serious issue. And that's part of the reason why we're getting more invested in this space and working on solutions for problems for the folks that we serve. So I want to start off talking about DDoS attacks. You can see here we've got some data about DDoS attacks. The chart on the left shows the number of attacks that we've seen on the NCREN network on a yearly basis. We measure this on the school year roughly, so this is September through August data that you see here. So for the 2015-16 school year, 337 DDoS attacks in that year. The 2016-17 year, there were 409. And then the most recent complete school year, 2017-2018, we saw almost 600 attacks. So the number of attacks continue to grow. I can tell you that when we put this chart up for 2018-2019, it will dwarf the numbers that are here. We saw in the month of September alone almost 200 DDoS attacks. And so for the year, I don't have the specific numbers in front of me, but we're well ahead of pace from the previous year. So that number will be quite a bit bigger. So it continues to be a very significant problem and a challenge for customers all across the internet, certainly on the NCREN network. And then on the right, you can see the percentage breakdown of which of our customers are receiving the brunt of the numbers of DDoS attacks that are being directed toward them. It's roughly a pretty even split between K-12s and universities that are the biggest targets. And you can see community colleges there, roughly 5% of the attacks that we see are targeting community colleges. So I talk about this because I want to talk about what we're doing to help protect customers. We do have an automatic protection solution. So the way this works is that when we are continuously monitoring traffic on the NCREN backbone for indicators of DDoS attack traffic. And when we detect an attack that has begun with our automated protection, within seconds, we will begin mitigating that attack. So it starts very, very quickly. It's automated. It's highly effective once we start putting your traffic into one of our scrubbing centers on the NCREN network. The attack traffic is filtered out, and the clean traffic or the legitimate traffic is allowed to continue on. And we've been operating this automated protection solution for about a year now in production, and almost 2 years since we first implemented it in our testing phase, and it is highly effective. We are very close to 100% success rate on mitigating attacks with this automated protection solution. So it is highly effective. It's also part of standard network service that you get from MCNC. So if you get connectivity from us, you get the DDoS protection solution included at no additional cost. It's just part of the service that you get from MCNC. And if you're familiar with how this works in the commercial space, that's a really big deal, because most commercial providers will offer you a DDoS protection solution, but they will usually charge you as much or more for the DDoS protection as they do for the connectivity. So all of this adds up to being that DDoS attacks are no longer a major security risk for our customers, and we're actually really, really proud of that because we put a lot of work and expense into operating this service to protect our customers. And when we started working on solving this problem, what we wanted to implement was a solution that would automatically detect attacks, mitigate the attacks, and the customer would not know that we had even done that. And the only way they would know is that if we told them, hey, we mitigated this attack for you. That was the ultimate goal behind this, that it would be completely transparent to our customers. And this quote here from back in April from a customer of ours validates that the service is working generally the way we want. What this quote says is that it works so quickly and so well. If they had not received a notification from us letting them know that the excuse me, that the service had been engaged, they wouldn't have even known that the attack had occurred because we'd cleaned out the attack and their legitimate traffic just continued on as normal. So that was really good validation for this service, and so we're just thrilled to be able to offer this to you all as part of the NCREN standard network service. I mentioned all of these things to you because in order to take advantage of the automated protection capability, we do need you to sign up for that. So many of you have already done that. We conducted a campaign back in kind of January, February timeframe this past year, where we reached out to folks and let folks know that this service exists and asked you to fill out a form to sign up for it, because we do need to collect some information from you in order to set it up. So many of you have done that, but if you have not done that, or you're not sure if you've done that, we want to verify that it's done for you, because it's a much better situation for everyone if you're enrolled in the automated protection as opposed to the manual protection. The manual protection requires an analyst to get an alert, review that alert, determine what mitigation needs to be applied, and then reach out to you and contact you and explain what we're seeing and get your permission to start mitigation. And all of that takes time. It can take anywhere from 20, 30 minutes up to an hour plus to do all of that before we can actually start mitigating an attack. And in many cases, the attack is over by the time we do all that. So if we get into the automated solution, we do all that setup up front. The mitigation will begin, as I mentioned, within seconds. So that's a much better situation for everyone. So if you're, excuse me, again, are not enrolled in the service, the automated service, or you're not sure if you are, we want you to contact us so we can verify that for you. And if you're not, we can get you enrolled. And I'll give you some contact information here at the end that will let you know who to contact about that. So that's it for our DDoS protection service. I'm going to move on now to our one of our newest services. We call this continuous monitoring and risk assessment. There are multiple components of this service, but at the highest level, what we're doing is we operate vulnerability scanning infrastructure in MCNC's data centers. And using that infrastructure, we will scan your external network perimeter in the first phase of this to detect what systems we can see and what vulnerabilities are present on those systems. And we will feed the results of those vulnerability scans into a tool we call, or a tool called DNS Security. And this tool provides a couple of things. It runs all of the results of the vulnerability scanning through algorithms that they have developed, looking at real-world threat intelligence. And they use those algorithms to calculate risk scores on your vulnerability scan data. So they're looking at things like which vulnerabilities are attackers having success exploiting in real-world data breaches, which vulnerabilities have malware that exists that is taking advantage of them. How hard is a vulnerability to exploit, or how easy is it to exploit? A vulnerability that's really easy to exploit is probably a higher risk than a similar impact vulnerability that's really, really difficult to exploit. So all of those things get factored into these risk scores that are calculated. Excuse me. And the idea behind the risk scores is that they help you prioritize the issues that you need to fix first. The higher risk items are the ones that you need to focus your attention on first. So what you get as a customer is a web-based dashboard that looks something like this that you would log into. We take care of all the scanning. We feed all your data into the web portal for you. So all you do is log into the portal and you can see the issues that exist in your environment and you can see what you need to do about them. So hopefully you can see my cursor on the screen here. Up in the right-hand corner, this is your main home dashboard. So you can see that there is a total risk score here. That is for all the risk score overall for all your assets. And then over here, you can see individual vulnerabilities that are listed. These are the things that you need to fix in your environment. The risk scores are calculated here on a 0 to 100 scale. These are sorted in order, so these are the most serious risks that exist in this particular environment. And then I could click on this blue arrow here, and that would give me more details about this specific vulnerability. So if I were to click on that, I would get a screen that looks like this. Sorry, this is an asset view here that tells me these particular vulnerabilities that exist in this environment. So if I click on the blue, I apologize, folks, my voice is giving out a little bit here. I click on that blue arrow and I get details about that specific vulnerability. It tells this is the description of it. And there's tabs across the top that I can click on for more information here. So if I click on that Fix tab, it now tells me information about how to fix that vulnerability. So there is a URL here I could click on that would give me more information about that particular vulnerability. I can see that there are patches available. If I click on the Known Exploits tab, it tells me the exploits that exist that will take advantage of that vulnerability. I could click on the Malware tab. These are the specific pieces of malware that are known to target that vulnerability. Some other pieces of information that are available inside of this DNS Security tool. There's a dashboard that will trend your risk scores over time. There's lots of different reports that can be generated as part of this dashboard, but you can see here, this is a really valuable tool for helping you understand, is my risk posture getting better or is it getting worse? How am I doing as time goes on? So that's a very valuable tool from an executive information sharing standpoint. So again, that's a very high level overview of the tool and what it gives you. In this solution, there's no software or hardware for you to deploy or manage. It's a fully managed service from us. We take care of setting up and managing all of the vulnerability scanning. And that scanning is continuous, as the name indicates. So it's not like a traditional vulnerability assessment where someone would come in, do a scan, give you a report, and then be gone and maybe come back 6 months or a year later. This is a service that is fully automated, and so the scanning happens continually. Our standard cadence for that is we will scan on a weekly basis, but we can configure that however often you would like. If you would like it to be monthly or quarterly, we can do that. But weekly is a good kind of cadence in order for you to get a really good update on what your risk posture looks like on an ongoing basis. So again, nothing for you to deploy or manage. All you do is log into that web portal and see the results of your scan data. We talked about it, continually updated. The value of the risk scores is that they tell you what to fix first, and the tool also tells you how to fix those vulnerabilities. So we saw that earlier. And then we saw the executive reporting dashboards that were there as well. So as I mentioned earlier, initially we're only scanning your external network perimeter. That's what we're calling phase 1. That is available now. We are working on a second phase of this solution here in 2019, where we will scan devices on your internal network. The idea there is that we will provide you with some either physical or virtual device that you would deploy on your internal network that would scan your internal network and then feed the results of that scan data back into your web portal. So this tool can also integrate with other scanning solutions. So if you are currently doing your own vulnerability scanning, you already have those scan results and you just want to pump that data into Kenna to take advantage of the risk scores, this solution offers the ability to do that. We started rolling this out in October, so it is fully available now. Information on pricing, everyone is always interested in that. So the base pack provides the managed scanning service, access to the Kenna web portal, and continuous scanning for up to 100 IP addresses. And that costs $2,500 per year. Again, we are only at this point scanning the external network perimeter. So most of our customers do not have more than 100 IP addresses on their external network that are facing the internet. So for most folks, this will be a price that would cover everything they need for phase one. But if you do need more than 100 IP addresses, or as we move into phase two and you need to start scanning your internal network, we will sell add-on packs for the additional IP addresses. So you can purchase additional IPs for scanning on top of the base pack. Excuse me, those are available in packs of 100 IP addresses. And those packs do start at $786 per year for 100 IPs. And the price does go down based on quantity. So you can see here on the screen how that price decreases as you add additional IP addresses. So that is it for the continuous monitoring and risk assessment service. If that's something that you're interested in, again, we would love to talk to you about that. And folks, my voice is absolutely giving out on me here, as you can probably hear. So what I'm going to do is pause just a second, and I'm going to hand this over to Ruthie Mabe from our team, and she's going to take you through the rest of the slides.
Okay, I think everybody should be able to hear me now. So sorry about that, Chris. Sorry, appreciate you being a hero, but glad that I can step in for you. So the next thing that we have to discuss is our advisory consulting services. We launched those earlier this year, and we've already had some success with engagements that we have across the state with existing customers. We have seen significant demand across the North Carolina schools from K-12 to higher ed, interested in this service for MCNC, to provide a expert person to come in and advise regarding cybersecurity. We've had the ability to hear across the platform and across our customers what people are struggling with, and as we help them work through those things, go into the next customer, we see similar things and are able to advise them accordingly. So MCNC, through our existing services, we have a history of success in this space. We have our network services. We have our client network engineering, where Kevin Mottero recently was one of our client network engineers who acted as a resource for our customers with regards to technical support. And so now we're translating that history of success into this advisory consulting space. So again, that history has allowed us to become a trusted partner for the North Carolina schools. So I think I actually, apologies, ran by this slide when I sat down. So the types of services that we're currently providing are cybersecurity program assessment, where we come in and we look at your overall program. And then in addition to that, we add the risk assessment, where we actually take into account what you have in your program and help you determine where those risks are. We can also work through if you have an audit, we can help you work through remediation of that. And we can get into more discrete things if you have specific needs around application and policy creation. And another thing that we've had a lot of interest in is actually providing the staff augmentation. So where you actually have a dedicated number of hours from one of our cybersecurity consultants to come in and be a partner with you on a various list of things as you need them. So that is something, this service is something that we want to customize to you. So if you have something that you need specifically, please reach out to us and we can help scope that engagement with you. We, again, that first list, we have some things that are sort of already defined and established, but if you have a specific need, we'd be happy to have that conversation with you. So the last service that we have is our DNS Security Filtering service. MCNC has partnered with Akamai Technologies for this service, and we found that it is a lightweight, easy to deploy option for you to add an extra layer of protection at the DNS level. So to step back and do a quick overview of DNS and that process, without having a DNS security filtering service in place, when your user wants to go to www.unknown.com, that request is going to go to your internal DNS server. If that's not the authoritative server, it's going to come back and say, I don't know. And then your user is going to go outside of your internal network and out to the internet. So that's going to go to your ISP's DNS server and out to the various places it would find that IP address. So that IP address then is going to be returned to your user. And at no point along that way, once your user goes to unknown.com, was there any indication of whether or not that was a site that they should go to when it comes to if it's a malicious site? So what we do is we add with a filtered DNS some intelligence around whether or not, based on the IP address, if your user should actually go to that website, right? So the same thing, internal DNS, it comes back. Now we're going to go to the filtered DNS and outside of your network. And that request is then going to go to Akamai's cloud security intelligence, where there's some determination made on if this is going to be a good site or a bad site. And when we talk about quote bad sites, malicious sites, it's sites that are known to host malware and phishing and command and control, botnet, DNS exfiltration, these things that we know are a quote bad site that your user shouldn't go to. So if it comes back that this is a good site, there's no problem. Your user is going to continue to go onto that website. A bad site, however, your user is going to be blocked and at the DNS level, so your user is not going to be allowed to travel to that website. They will get a custom block page, which will tell them, excuse me, sorry, going through Chris's slides here too quick. That block page will tell them that it was blocked due to it being a known malware site, a known phishing site, and there's the ability here as well to set up some acceptable use policies. So it could be that you've turned on the acceptable use policy, and therefore that block page will say this is a violation of the network's acceptable use policy. So with regards to why MCNC chose Akamai to partner with, they see, and I think this slide actually might be a little old at this point, they see up to over 30% of the total web traffic in the world, and they see over 3 trillion daily DNS queries. So they see a lot of these queries and are able to use that information to then apply the intelligence to say, yes, this is a bad site, or yes, this is a good site, your users should go here. We partnered with them again because Akamai was willing to work with us. They gave a great rate to us that we are then able to pass along to our customers. And they had a very clean and easy to deploy solution for our users. So this service is, again, like I've said, it's easy to deploy. There's no hardware that needs to be deployed on your endpoints. It's a lightweight service. It's simple to set up and to operate, and there's a significant price advantage to our customers to use this service. The dashboard is very easy to manipulate and to understand, and it's clean in that it shows you the types of threats that are happening in your environment. So this is a screenshot that we took of a large university customer showing all the DNS activity, and in this 30-day period, they had over 93,000 threat events. And what this happened specifically was when this customer turned this service on, if you notice, there was a command and control event happening on one of their devices, and that was that large spike there in that green graph. And so they turned the service on, they were able to locate that compromised device, they took that off their network, and then their threat count went down significantly. So this was a good indication that the service was working for them. This was one of our K-12 customers that turned this service on, and Chris and I were doing some maintenance in the system, and just happened to notice that there was a lot of threat activity happening, and it looked like it was a command and control event. So we reached out to them and said, this is happening in your portal. Are you aware of this? And come to find out that they had been receiving the notifications, but since they had received over 3,000 or 30,000 notifications about that threat event, they'd filtered those out of their email. So Chris and I like to joke that the flashing red light is only as helpful as you will actually do something about it. So this was a case where they had an affected device on their network, and they were able to find that, fix it, and then again you can see where that threat traffic dropped back off after that event happened. And then this is just a medium customer, and in traffic wise, and you can see how they've maintained a blacklist of their own domains that they don't want to allow their users to go to, and they also had the malware, phishing, and command and control events. And those threats just sort of peak and through the days, and then you can see they drop off on the weekends and they pick back up again. So this dashboard again is an easy to take a good snapshot of the traffic and the threat traffic that's on your network. So what this is and what this isn't. This is not going to be your end-all be-all solution for your security posture. It is a extra layer of protection to add to what you have already, or it's a good place to start. It only inspects at the DNS level, so there are limitations there. However, we believe that it's a high value security protection for our customers to deploy. So our pricing is based on number of full-time employees. Everyone on the network receives the protection, but you only have to pay for the full-time employees. Students and part-time employees and your network guests all receive that protection as they're on your network, but there's no additional cost for those users. It's just based on your full-time employees. We also sell this in sets of 100 user increments with a minimum of 100 users. So this is a little bit of an eye chart, but it's just to give you an idea. We will provide you a custom quote if you're interested in this service. So you tell us how many full-time employees, but this gives you an indication of where you may fall if your number's not listed here. So I think that's actually it. So I'm not sure if we were taking questions or anything. I don't know, or if we are good to go and set at this point. Should we, let's see.
Hey, this is Candace. So yeah, if anybody has any questions, y'all willing to answer them, that'd be great. If not, if you could send me the recording link, then I'll send it out to the CIO membership.
Okay. Well, our contact information, we'll send that on over to Candace as well. So, and then obviously you have Kevin as a resource to get in contact with us as well. So thank you for your time, and we appreciate it. And we'll be here if you have any questions.
Okay, thanks, guys. And yeah, Candace, we will get you that the link to all the recordings on the YouTube channel. And again, thanks, Chris. Thanks, Ruthie. And that was a great presentation. Great job, guys.